My wife thought she was slick, sneaking off with her high school ex while I stayed home with our kids. She thought I'd never find out. She thought there'd be no consequences. What she didn't know was that I don't believe in forgiveness. I believe in evidence and fire. If you've ever been lied to, cheated on, or underestimated, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and strap in for a ride that ends with one of the most brutal, precise, and fully deserved takedowns Reddit has ever seen. The early 2000s. AOL was still a thing. Everyone was just discovering what Wi-Fi meant. And I was a husband, a father, and the guy who thought he had a stable life. We had 2 kids, 4 and 6. Adorable, loud, messy, and my whole world. My wife, let's call her Amy, was working part-time and spending a lot of her off days dropping the kids off at her parents' house. Which, on the surface, didn't raise many red flags. I mean, it's family, right? But her parents lived 90 minutes away. That's 3 hours of driving just to spend a few hours hanging out 2 or 3 times a week. It wasn't adding up. And here's where it begins. Not with shouting, not with fighting, but with a gut feeling. That deeply buried, almost primal sense that something's off. I started watching more closely. I checked the mileage on her car. I'd write it down in a little notepad I kept in the garage, miles before and after each day she ran errands or took the kids to her parents. It wasn't long before I noticed she was clocking an extra 400 miles every week. 400 miles. She said she was taking the kids to her parents, but unless they moved the house to a different state, the numbers didn't make sense. And if I'm honest, I wanted to believe I was wrong. I wanted to be the crazy one, because if I wasn't, then my whole life was a lie. Then one afternoon, it was like fate dropped it in my lap. She left a sticky note next to the computer. A casual, dumb little thing with her AOL password scrawled on it. I stared at it for a long time. My hand hovered over the mouse. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my jaw. And then I did it. I logged in. And in the inbox, emails to her college best friend. Lots of them. Coded in girl speak, but not enough to hide the truth. It was so good seeing him again. We're back to our old tricks. His poor wife, she got so fat after their 3rd kid. She has no idea. LOL. I couldn't breathe. She was sleeping with her high school ex, trash-talking his wife, laughing, gloating. My blood went cold. I didn't confront her. I printed the emails, made copies, stashed them in a locked drawer at work. You see, I'm not like my parents. They were cheaters, fighters. My childhood was a battlefield. I'd already lived through that fallout once. I refused to put my kids through the same chaos. I needed to be methodical, quiet, and devastating. So I called an old friend, let's call him Mike. He was a cop back in the day. I told him what I had. He said, "You need a PI." That's how I met Ron. This guy, ex-law enforcement, no nonsense, dead eyes. I handed him the emails, gave him the rundown, and said, "I don't just want dirt, I want a full excavation." Ron delivered. Within 2 weeks, I had a detailed timeline of her affair. Dates, photos, receipts. She'd take the kids to her parents, drive to a diner halfway between towns, meet up with her ex, let's call him Bob. They'd have lunch, then head to a dumpy motel a few blocks away. Every single week. I hired a divorce attorney the next day. My lawyer said the affair wouldn't make much difference legally, but that didn't matter, because I wasn't just going to leave her. I was going to scorch the earth. But I wasn't done with Bob either. Ron, being the legend that he is, ran a background check. Turns out Bob was married too. 3 kids, worked as a VP of sales at his father-in-law's company, and the best part? His in-laws owned the house Bob lived in. Checkmate was coming. Here's how it went down. Monday morning, my wife got served divorce papers at work. Not at home, not in private, in front of coworkers. That same day, Ron drove to Bob's house, knocked on the door, spoke directly with Bob's wife. Gave her the whole file. The emails, the photos, the timeline. She didn't cry. She smiled, and then the world burned. Bob's wife moved fast. She drained their bank accounts, took the kids, and left. And when her dad, the same man who owned the company Bob worked for, found out, he fired Bob instantly. Then came the eviction. That cozy house he lived in with his family, owned by the wife's parents. He was out on the curb, but it didn't end there. One night, Bob showed up drunk. Started screaming outside the house, demanding to see his kids. His ex's brother stepped in and broke Bob's nose. Police were called. Restraining orders followed. More police reports. A few nights in jail, his life was officially on fire. Bob vanished from the internet a year later. Rumors said he fled the state. His ex-wife took over her dad's company after he retired. Doing well. Still has the kids. As for Amy, my ex, we co-parented. I stayed polite, I didn't fight, I didn't yell. But the day our youngest turned 18, I cut contact. She became a chapter I'll never reread. Not because I hate her, but because I don't waste energy on people who burned me. Imagine it. One day you're king of your castle, wife, kids, job, house, respect. And in the blink of an eye, you've got no family, no home, no job, and a broken nose. All because you thought cheating would be easy, that no one would find out, that someone else's wife was just a fun distraction. But when you mess with the wrong guy's family, he doesn't scream, he plans. Some people think revenge is petty, but sometimes, revenge isn't about anger, it's about restoring balance. It's about standing up and saying, you don't get to wreck people's lives and walk away. And when justice fails, sometimes you just have to deliver it yourself. If this story gave you chills, or you've ever dreamed of a moment this satisfying, smash that like button, and tell us in the comments. What's the most deserved revenge you've ever witnessed? Don't forget to subscribe for more true stories that prove karma doesn't miss.